everybody, and we are chilling in the Sala today with the fabulous Christine Piñeiro. Christine is an actress, improviser, and sketch writer. After some minor detours at the start of her career, Christine has since found her path. On today's episode, she shares how a breakup led her to discover her true self and how she's developed confidence and stamina in a notoriously complicated industry. Christine performs improv every Monday night at the People's Improv Theater in New York City with her team, Lovers. So Christine, thank you for chilling in the Sala with us.
Hola, guys.
Hi.
I'm excited.
Oh, we're so excited to have you here. So tell us about your introduction into theater and what made you decide
I can tell
to do
you
theater?
about my introduction to comedy, which was at a very young age. My mom used to, do you remember VHS, guys?
Yes.
All right.
Here we do. Some of you might know it.
We used to watch these videos of Abbott and Costello, these two comedians, Laurel and Hardy, the Little Rascals, and that was my introduction to comedy. I wanted to do what they were doing, right? I wanted to do slapstick, wanted to make jokes. And at the time growing up, my parents, didn't have the best relationship. So one way that I would cope with that was to be funny because I wanted to laugh instead of cry. So
I think that's pretty noble. But initially, was your introduction into theater in a comedic route, or were you going more the dramatic route?
More the dramatic route. I always wanted to do movies. I still want to do movies, but always loved comedy, but really didn't get into like improv or sketch until 2010 after a breakup, which was, I was in this long-term relationship with a really great person, but we just weren't good for each other. So that ended, and I, for several years, always worked on plan B instead of plan A, which was, acting. I was always afraid and didn't have a lot of confidence. So I was like, let me work on my plan B, which I don't really think that's the right way to go. I think you should just fully dive into what you want to do with your life and work at that, fail at that, grow confidence, right? But I didn't, and that's okay because I, learned a lot of things doing other jobs.
But at what point was it, and was it the breakup that sort of was like, now is the time for me to take control of my life?
Yes, totally. Yeah, it was the breakup where I decided, okay, I want to do comedy, so let me look at some of my comedy favorites and how did they break into it. And I've seen a couple of improv shows, and I went to Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, the Magnet Theater, the People's Improv Theater in New York City, and I would watch some shows and I would think, I want to do that. So then I just started to do it. And one of the ways to do that was I started taking classes, and then I got really into like underground comedy where I would do it every night, like improv jams, watch shows, stay up till like 1 a.m. talking about comedy, doing it, failing, cultivating bravery.
How did you cultivate bravery?
By doing a lot of comedy shows and failing miserably at them.
Did you talk to people after you failed?
Oh, of course.
I talked therapeutic process.
The therapeutic process is the community. I feel very fortunate to still be a part of this large improv comedy community because we all want the same thing, right? We have a particular voice. We want to make people laugh, and we want to be in show business. Show business, that sounds like such an old-timey word.
We're going to go out west and we're going to be in a picture, darling.
We're going to do vaudeville, showbiz.
Yes, so you want to be that gal.
I also like sending my pieces to other comedians for notes because I like getting an outside perspective, and also it tightens up your material. So I think, and you know, in this show business, you can't really work alone. You need help from your peers.
Yeah. How do you take that constructive criticism?
Well, I ask people that I admire in comedy, some people that I really respect, I ask for their opinion. And if sometimes I don't always agree with them, and that's okay. It doesn't mean I think they're less funny or less talented. And other times they make me see something that I miss and it's super funny and it's like, oh, that's a good idea. I should use that bit. That's cool. Back to the community thing. This all ties in together. I remember getting on stage doing an improv set and feeling like, oh, I'm not funny, which happens sometimes, and feeling terrible, and talking to some of my improv teachers and some of my friends. And one of my improv coaches said to me, you're cultivating bravery. This is where you're supposed to be. And I'm like, I shouldn't be crying at the bar, in the theater. He's like pepping me up and saying, this is good, you're in a good place, this is where you're supposed to be, you're supposed to fail, this is how you learn, cry, get it out, and just keep going. And that's one of the pieces of advice that I got from the owner of the People's Improv Theater, because when I first walked in through the doors, I was like, who do I talk to? I want to talk to, I want some advice from the owner. And he said to me, keep doing it. Keep doing it.
And that's, for me, has always been the hardest part, especially as an artist, is like continuing to do it and make it happen, because
people quit too soon.
That's exactly it. People quit too soon and you get too scared. I feel like you can completely allow yourself to fail when you're by yourself in a room, but it's the moment that you step out on stage and let other people
That's
like
when you
judge
learn.
you.
That's when you learn.
It's exactly when you
It's a learning curve. Like in any industry, anything you do in life, you have to fail and suffer, and it's going to be hard work. You know, people see, you know, these stars, these comedic geniuses that have television shows, and it looks like they got it overnight, but they didn't. They were at a theater at 12 a.m. doing a shitty improv show, and they just kept doing it, you know, finding their comedic voice, which is very specific. Everybody has like a different journey. Some people want to do late night, some people want to write for TV, some people want to be actors. So, I mean, we're all doing it.
Is like, they're going to call me an overnight success, and I'm going to know that that's been the longest night I've ever lived. And it's true. It's like, what is this, like a 10-year night that they're going to all
suffered, you ignorant fool. Do you know how many tears I've cried?
Yes.
Slap the person who says, oh my God, it just happened. No, it never just happens.
It never just happens. And when you were in that process of adapting to the change of going from dramatic roles and getting over your breakup and finding the funny, which is like an improv thing, right? Find the funny. What was that transition like for you, and how did you adapt to the change?
I think after that breakup, I thought, I gotta stop. I have to start living for me. I learned this big lesson, which was nobody can make you happy but you. Mm-hmm. So I was putting depending on this one person for all of my happiness, which is a lot of pressure, very unhealthy. And also, it didn't allow me to grow because I had to figure out who I was. Who am I, right? So I'm still figuring that out, but I have a lot more confidence than I did 6 years ago.
Confidence has been hard to build up to, and I think any artist, I feel like sometimes for me, particularly as a woman, like it's really hard to get into that position where you're like, I'm just confident presenting myself, my body, my life, my work in front of individuals. And you were saying that drag queens have changed your life.
Congratulations, Jessica. I'm really inspired by RuPaul. I listened to his podcast, What's the Tea with Michelle Passage. I've obviously watched Drag Race, but RuPaul, Auntie Ru, she's a goddess. She's just like my Auntie Ru, as I like to call her. And the reason why I like listening to her speak is because, you know, she's been in this business for over 30 years, and she just speaks from truth, experience. She knows what it's like to struggle, and she knows what it's like to cultivate that bravery. She's always known that she was going to be a star, and she worked her ass off, and she knows that things are going to get in your way. So something interesting I want to bring up is I'm recently reading Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Mm-hmm. So he talks a lot about the ego, which I think, so something that I was struggling with was like, you know that voice in your head that says all these mean things about you? Mm-hmm. That's the ego trying to bring you down. And so what I learned from listening to Ru, because Ru talks about this a lot, is I am not my thoughts, I am not my feelings. I don't have to listen to that nonsense, the noise in my head, right? So once you recognize that, you feel totally free. And it's like an awareness, an awakening. I mean,
how do you just like shut it all off though?
It's hard. It'll never go off. It'll always go. So an example would be like, I'm so fat, I'm not good enough. That's the ego. That's bullshit, first of all. I have a good friend of mine. Her name is Jen Welch, and she's also a comedian. She's a very funny writer, person in general. She calls her ego Lou. So she's like, shut the fuck up, Lou. So lately, sometimes I've been calling my ego Lou too. So when Lou keeps talking, I'm like, pause. No, shut the fuck up. It is not true. And then I get a sense of ease. So back to drag queens, can I tell you, drag is an art form that makes me weep. Do you know why? Because they are, you know, some of us play these roles in life and it's all an illusion. Mm-hmm. And drag is making fun of that illusion. It's like, I'm gonna come out here and I'm playing this character. But what I find so beautiful about the art form is there's no holds bar. They're going out there, they're playing a character, but they couldn't be more of themselves because they have such bravery. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're just going to be who they are, throw it in your face, and it's very artistic. They inspire me so much. So I love me some drag.
Do you feel like you have a responsibility to other Latina comics? Do you feel like there's more pressure on you as a Latina comic?
I think there's pressure on me to be more Latina. So what do I mean by that? I've always been characterized as a gringa, which is like a white girl, because I don't sound like the typical New York Puerto Ricans, right? So growing up, I kind of felt like, okay, my own people kind of don't get me, and so white people kind of don't get me either. So, because like, where am I? So I never felt like I really fit in anywhere. But I think my responsibility, to be honest with you, is to be more of myself and not give a fuck what other people think. So to me, born and raised in the Bronx, this is who I am. I'm theater trained. I don't have an accent. Sorry to tell you. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. I don't know. I get the whole like you're so white thing really offends me. I'm a human fucking being and I have Latin influence. I'm Latina. Get the fuck over it. So I think my responsibility is to be myself because I'm not going to try to be anybody else. Mm-hmm. You know, this is who I am. I think my responsibility of being a Puerto Rican is learning my history. What does the flag mean? What did my people struggle through? What is my family history? I love my food. I love my music. I love my culture. I think that's my responsibility, is to be aware of where I come from and to be myself.
How does your family respond to your creative ambitions?
I think they're very supportive. I've never been told, what are you doing? In fact, remember I talked about my plan B earlier? Mm-hmm. My mom said to me, like, I had just graduated from college and I was starting this other business, and my mom said, Chris, what are you doing? You're not following your dream. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And even my grandfather was super supportive of the acting. I've just been very lucky. No one's ever told me, don't do that. They've just been like, look what Chris is doing. Chris, look what you're doing. I did stand up like a year ago to try it out. Uh-huh. And some of my bits, I've used my mom. Mm-hmm. I've talked about my mom. Because I live with my mom. I had the luxury of living with my mom, paying off my student loans, being from New York, working in New York. I'm very lucky. I'm appreciative. But one of the jokes that I use is living with my mom is like living with a college roommate who hates me. Like I walk into the house, she sees me, she's in the living room watching TV. She shuts the TV off. She gets up, she looks at me, then she goes into her room and shuts the door. Like, hey, so how was your day? Mine was great. Leaves passive-aggressive notes on the fridge. Did you drink my milk? I walk into her bedroom. I say to her, hey, I'm going out. Just wanted to let you know. And she's like, is that my nail polish you're wearing? I'm like, no, it's mine. It's Essie. It's Devil's Advocate. And she's like, that's appropriate. I'm like, what's the problem? You know? So that's one of my bits. And I told her this. And so part of her, so she feels, sometimes she feels like really great about it. Like, oh, how funny you're using me. And then other times she's like, don't you dare. But sometimes my mom's like, I got a bit for you. Use this in your bit. Use this in your show. Are you going to use this in your show? Are you going to use this in your show?
So my final question is, how do you define success? And like, do you feel like you're successful now?
That's such a great question. I'm happy now because I feel like I'm working so hard to achieve success in my craft. So what does that mean to me? I want to make money doing comedy, and I want to be happy just performing for people, right? And it's not just about the money. It's really making people laugh. Like, I think that's my calling. I think that's what I was meant to do. So that's why I want to do it. So I'm content with the work that I'm doing now, because this is the best time of my life, to be honest, because you're learning, you're failing, and I should enjoy it. Some people don't enjoy it. I didn't, and I'm learning that I need to. So I think we need to be fine that we're successful now. I'm alive, I'm breathing, I have a lot of friends who love me, I'm creating work, I'm doing my thing. It's really hard and it's so scared. I'm so fucking scared, but I have no choice but to do it because this is what I want. Success would be, to me, living truthfully, being happy with myself, and making money doing what I love doing and making people feel good. That's success to me. And I think that I am successful in that I'm have the luxury and opportunity to do what I'm doing. Ugh.
Well then,
rough.
if part of your definition of success is making other people feel good, then you are winning.
Yay, we're winning! Thanks, Jess.
Thanks for coming on the show, and thank you guys for chilling with us in the sala. Bye!
Bye!
Shimmy it out, yeah!
I think one of the worst things you can do in life is have a fear of failure, because then you'll never try anything. You just stifle yourself. So, I mean, by default, it just got to a point where it's like, all right, it's gotten this far. Let's see how far we can take it. It worked this month. Let's try it again next month. And let's keep going and going. It just was a rolling effect.